Okay, here we are, two and a half weeks later with an update. I just did the test. We're pretty much done with the Old Testament survey. This is the last week. I just did the test, and the last test was about the second half of the Old Testament. It was pretty hard, and it was a lot of names, a lot of different references, and I think I missed like 12 out of 50, which I feel like is a lot. But overall, I'm still at 89%, and I still have let's see here. I think I still have few assignments to be graded. I'm at 89.5%, so very close to 90. And I still have 2 discussions to be graded, and I think I'll probably, let's see here, all the Haler worksheets are graded. So yeah, I only have 2 discussions to be graded, and I think I'll get all the points for it, and I still think there's a chance for me to be over 90% with the Old Testament survey too. Not super happy about the test, the last test, but there were a lot of references, and overall, I'm still content. I think one of the questions that I kind of wanted to give an example of is, let's say, the question was, who predicted the birthplace of Jesus? And the verse that talks about it, in you Bethlehem Ephrathah, came to my mind right away, but I could not remember if it was Daniel or Isaiah. Actually, let's Google that real quick. And you, oh Bethlehem, and I don't remember. And I don't even remember Micah. See, I mean, there was some multiple choice. I do remember that Micah had some prophecies regarding the Messiah, but I just did not remember that verse by name. So I remembered the reference verse, but I could not remember who the prophet was. So I missed a few, and then I went over the test, and actually right before submitting it, I changed probably 2 or 3 questions to correct answers right before the submission, so I was happy about that. Overall, 89%. I'm content with that. I'm happy. There's a lot of information. For the next class, I decided to take the let's see here, the Intro into Biblical Counseling, and let me open up the let's see here, elective options, our educational plan. So we did the Old Testament Survey 1. We are completing Old Testament Survey 2. I've got some classes for some credits for biology, and I'm starting with Intro to Biblical Counseling. I think I just wanted to change it up a little bit. Originally, I was thinking about Old Testament and then get the New Testament done right after that, so I could have this solid foundation. And I feel like I wanna change it up a little bit. I think I'm going to take the class with Intro into Biblical Counseling, and I really wanted to concentrate on the New Testament right after that, because I feel like my May and June going to be pretty busy, and I wanted to dedicate enough time to the New Testament because I feel like it matters to us more, and I don't want to take much. I don't want to take a lot from the Old Testament. Old Testament is relevant, and it paints the New Testament to us, and it all works in sync with each other. But I think the New Testament is a little bit more relevant to the modern day Christian, and I really want to focus on that. I don't want to just complete the class and put a check mark in my transcripts, but I really do want to dedicate a little bit more time to it, and I don't want to feel rushed through it. So for the sake of changing that up a little bit, and just having something different, I decided to go with the Intro into Biblical Counseling. They asked me to pay for both classes, for the Intro into Biblical Counseling and the New Testament Survey 1, which I'm going to start in July. We'll plan on having a trip to Europe at that time, and I think those first 2 weeks, we're going to spend the first 2 weeks in Germany, and I plan on having plenty of free time. So hopefully I can dedicate much of that time into for the New Testament, and we'll see how that goes. My plans always change though. So yeah, I'm really hoping I will have some time for it. It looks like there's not going to be these major midterm exams because they're only 10 and 15% of the overall score. There's going to be a lot of analysis. Let's see here. Let's go through the plan. So the first module, and I feel like it's going to be less of a time dedication, but I think solely because they assume I'm going to spend less time writing. Writing is not my strongest suit. I'm much better at reading, listening, and doing multiple choice quizzes. And if I compare the timelines of this course to the Old Testament, it looks like it's almost half of the time that I was dedicating to the Old Testament. With the Old Testament, it was a lot of reading and listening. Like the very last week, the 8th week was probably the biggest time commitment. And I don't know, let's actually take a look at that. I had to listen to 8 lectures, which almost every single one of them. So let's see here. Yeah, see that? We got 22-hour commitment, 21, 18, 20, 14, 18, 32. That was for the book review, which I did last week. We were at a wedding in Missouri for Christine. Well, I already mentioned the name, but we were in Missouri for a wedding, and I was finishing the book review for the Message of the Prophets. It was 32-hour commitment. I think I still spent less than that time, but it took me probably 6 or 7 evenings and a Sunday morning. I think that last final Sunday morning probably took me about 2 or 3 hours to get it finished. But look at the time commitment, right? And it looks like the last one's got the least time commitment, right? But then just the reading part was 7 hours. Hosea through Malachi. I think this is all the 12 minor prophets. Lectures. This was not 3.1 hours. 32 through 35. These are the required lectures. However, there are 4 more. So it's 6.2 hours total for the lectures alone. And reading report discussions I did yesterday, and the final exam took me 21 minutes. And I think 1.5 hours allowable time slot for it. So it sounds like the time commitment on this is going to be a lot less, assuming that I'm a fast writer, which I am not, so it might actually take me more time for it. And let's see here. I'm just trying to see if I could get to A- in the Old Testament. My goal is to be in the A- category, so hopefully I can get over that 90%, and I think I have a really good chance of doing that. So let's see here. Week 1 module, Dr. Baker's article, Jeremiah 17:9 and The Believer. I kind of wanted to start reading up on stuff, but none of that will open up until May 6th. Syllabus, and then Instruments in Redeemer's Hands. Actually, really good book. I bought the physical copy of that, and it was also available on not Spotify, but what is the app? Audible, right? It was available on Audible, and it sounded like, looked like I didn't even have to spend any credits on it. I had 1 credit available, and then when I was adding that book into the library, it just added by itself without even asking for any credits. So I don't know if it's free. If if it's still available for free, I only read the first 2 chapters, but it sounds like it's going to be a very good personal book about the counseling and biblical, I don't know if you can call it that, right? Biblical psychology. So it tells you about, in the first 2 chapters, how all the problems and everything in the biblical counseling has to have Christ and faith as the foundation. So there's nothing that we can change by having certain applications or how to deal with things if we don't have Christ as our foundation. And I think that was the main point that the author was trying to drive in the first in the opening chapters. I think I'm really going to like that book. Understanding the Heart, Part 1 and 2. So these are lectures. I'm assuming 30 minutes each. Discussions, something that we're going to have to write, and I don't know, we'll see the word count requirement for it. The discussions before that, we were supposed to do 250 words for your initial response, and then you had to engage with the other people and reply to their posts, and your replies had to be at least 100 words. So we'll see how that's going to go. Psalm 18 study, and then drawing out the purposes of the heart. I think, and let's see if I can find this. From what I was reading, one of the main activities for that class is going to be you focusing on your heart, right? Because you can't give something that you don't have. And this class is going to be working on you. Let's see here. Discussions, so assignments. We're going to have discussions, and then 1 initial post, and at least 2 responsive posts are required within. Okay, so initial posts and 2 responsive posts. Okay, then we're going to have to learn the verses, and Matthew, Galatians, Thessalonians, and I know we're going to be tested on those. And then second quiz in Module 6 covers 2 Timothy 3:16, 17. I think this is about the all scriptures are God-breathed. They're in my little app that I was talking about, but I haven't really mastered this verse yet. All scripture is God-breathed and is good for reproof, correction, and studying, so that the man of God may be complete, equipped for every good work. Something like that. Colossians, Matthew. So I'm going to be adding these verses to my app. Warning, counseling system, our belief systems paper. Students will write a 4-page minimum to 5-page maximum. Make up, summarize each of the S's that make up a counseling system. I know nothing about it yet, including why we must be careful in our use of secular psychologies. So, and see, that's what I really like about this course. It doesn't talk about, well, here's a biblical approach and let's combine it with a secular psychology. It talks, what I'm expecting this class to talk about is psychology probably takes, the modern psychology, secular psychology, probably takes some of the principles from the Bible without really knowing it. But the biblical counseling is not the combination of both systems. The biblical counseling is by itself the system for counseling, and that is applicable for Christians, and it is the only system that works because Jesus is the main the foundation, the main purpose of your life. Anything else is not going to give you the satisfaction. I think that's what the first couple chapters were talking about, right? We're all trying to find a purpose, try to find satisfaction in life, and if it's not Jesus, you're not gonna get a full satisfaction for your purpose. So I'm expecting this class to introduce us to psychology of what it talks about, but then the main point is going to be biblical psychology. and when it is legitimate to use the secular psychology. So I guess there are some things that we can apply, but it's not going to be the main point. We're not going to be referring to the secular psychology as like, well, here it is. I think we're going to be referring more to the experience, right? Because secular psychology, God created us with our emotions and our patterns, right? And so I think whenever we're going to be referring to secular psychology, it's going to be more of a like, well, based on the history, based on the experience that we have with biblical counseling, these are the patterns. And it doesn't really matter if it's biblical psychology or regular psychology. That person, the object, will probably have the same patterns of behavior. I don't know if I'm making sense or if I'm just confusing you guys or even confusing myself. At the end, it's going to be reading reports. Let's see, When People Are Big, God is and Small. That is the second book. I bought the book. I haven't started reading it yet. Instruments in Redeemer's Hand. So I guess there are going to be 2 reports. Module 2, report and read on the portions of. Okay, your report should be single-spaced and should be submitted to Canvas before midnight. Okay, so second week, I'm going to have to do some kind of review on the portion on When People Are Big and God is Small, which I haven't started yet. So I think they're going to give us a chunk of that book, and then we're going to have to reply on that. Like I said, I'm not really good. It's probably going to take me a long time to do that. Key principles, case study analysis. Mary Lewis, they can be found to develop to help them biblically. I think there's going to be some people that we're going to have 5 people with 5 different situations, case studies that we're going to have to write a paper on as well and develop a plan to help them biblically, which is the purpose of why I signed up for this degree, which sounds like more academic. This is for personal growth, and I hope that I can serve others with that degree. But I think I'm gonna be the one that will benefit from it the most. 6 to 8 page. I don't like this. I don't like when I read 6 to 8 page double space analysis on the plan. Self-counseling project. I think this is the one I was talking about, right? So it's gonna ask you to select one of the problem or issues in your life, and then it's gonna you're gonna have to come up with a plan for a change on how you can adjust that particular problem in your heart. And then you're going to turn in the initial plan, keep a diary, and then apply information from this course composed of 4 to 5 page summary report. Another thing, I don't like this 4 to 5 page summary report. So, and I think this is going to be more personal. I think it's just going to, they talked about confidentiality in that case. It's not going to be open to all the participants of the class. It's going to be confidential. Between you and one of the professors, and I'm not sure which one it's going to be, but I'm pretty excited for that portion of it. I haven't come up with the topic, and I don't think I'm going to be talking about it, so I'm pretty excited for that part of the class as well. There's going to be other assignments and exams. Okay, as far as the layout of the class, understanding the heart, lectures, right, discussion, and reading Jeremiah 17:9. I'm not sure where it talks about it just yet. Assignment, Psalm 18 study, drawing out the purposes of the heart questions. I think this is going to be the main assignment for the week. Week 2, Module 2, Dr. Baker's article dealing with stubborn desires through worship. Instruments in Redeemer's Hands, Chapter 3, 4, and 5. We'll read that in the audiobook format. Understanding the Heart, Part 3 and 4 lectures. Self-counseling plan. Module 2, discussion dealing with stubborn desires. Instruments in Redeemer's Hands, self-counseling plan and preparation. So I'm not really sure where I was gonna write. I thought down below we're reading about writing some kind of paper in the second module, and I'm just not seeing this. Okay, Genesis 1 through 4, read it 2 times. That's the third week. Lectures TBD. I'm not sure if they're currently recording the lectures for it. Significance of sin for psychologies. I guess that's the main thing that we have to remember. You know, the root of all problems is sin. And I don't know if they talk, I don't think there's a concept of sin in psychologies, right? There is in biblical counseling, but I don't know how secular psychologists talk about that. Study for the midterm, and then memory verse quizzes. Memory verse quiz number 1 with verses. And I don't know any of these ones, so I'm going to be learning all 3 of those. That will be due on the 3rd week. And they're giving you 3 hours for it. I think that's plenty of time. Read 1 John, read 3 times. Read through 2 times. Lectures TBD. Not sure what that means. I don't know if they don't have them yet. That's, 2nd week in a row. Discussion, 1 John and Tozer, paper of evidences of salvation, work on self-counseling project, begin work on case study analysis. So a lot less reading the Bible, which is, not always a bad thing. Where I'm still I've gotten so used to reading and listening to the Bible that I'd say on average, I was probably dedicating 30 minutes a day for it. And then sometimes if I had time, like on the last trip that we went to Kansas City, I think in one day I probably read the Bible for an hour. And what I like about this is that passion for the Bible. But sometimes we have to reflect on our thoughts, on some other things that are based on the Bible. So I think this is going to be very beneficial. Midterm exam, I don't think it's going to take 6 hours unless it's, writing 5 or 6 pages on the exam. I don't know. This doesn't make sense. Ephesians, read Ephesians 2 times. Begin reading when people are big and God is small, at least 50 pages. So you don't start reading the second book until week 5. So those papers must not be due until later in the class. Now, lectures are TBDs. I've really been enjoying the lectures, and I really do hope that they actually provide us with some, because that's been the highlight of the weekly study for me. Module 5, discussion, continue to work on the case study analysis, self-counseling project, prep for the next memory verse quiz. Then written article, another article, continue reading the book, please 50 pages. That's 8 hours of reading. I wonder how big those articles are, because I could read 50 pages in, I don't know, an hour or 2. I wonder how big these articles are if they dedicate 8 hours for them. Lectures, here we go. We got the lecture, is biblical counseling for or against psychology? Cure of souls, that is discussion. And then we're going to do 1-page summary of Paulson article, continue work on self-counseling project, 4 to 5 page paper summarizing the S from Baker Aaron chapter. Okay. Memory quiz 2. This is 18 hours. I think that's probably going to be, we'll get 19 hours in week 19. But remember how I was showing you the Old Testament course, and it was like 19, 20. I mean, we're almost half here. 12, 13, 19. This is probably the closest one we gotten to the Old Testament. I think the lowest one in the Old Testament was about 15, 16 hours, and the longest one was over 20. 10 hours. 18, 12, 18. Hymn, ancient words. Okay, continue reading when people are big and small. Final exam prep, fill in chart, case study analysis. I mean, there's going to be a lot of writing at the end. And it's funny, it's interesting how the lectures, there's not a lot of lectures that that are shown on the, I don't know why I made this bigger. I don't need to. I am meeting some people. I got to pick up some people at the airport, and they just landed. Let's see here. Boom. What does it say? There is a program called Four Musketeers, landed 4 minutes ago. So I got to go pick them up from the airport, and they just texted me saying that they just landed. We'll get to our gate and then go out, check bag, and be out any particular place. So I'm going to text them. I'm going to have to meet them. We're 25 minutes in. Probably a good time for me to finish. I had some flashcards for studying for the Old Testament. Just in the summary, I really still enjoying it. Asking God for the same passion for me to keep on having the passion for all these classes, to find time for it and not just do it for the check mark, but actually see that change in myself. That's what I've been praying for. There's a lot of things that I've been praying for lately, and I think specifically is my future as far as service goes, right? Because I feel like every Christian should have its own place and a job within have some kind of ministry. That's what I've been praying about. I have some ideas, but I also I am praying for the guidance and for something that I won't be rushing and assuming that this is what God wants and this is what obviously this is what God would want from me, and that's what I need to do. Instead, I'm praying to show for God to show me His will and walk in those footsteps. That's been the prayer in my heart, because the thing is, even with with the churches, which church we're going to be serving at, I feel like the church that I'm at right now, I think that is temporary. I don't know if I can come back to the church that I came from, even though there is a lot of Slavic people, and I feel like that's the crowd that I should be serving in. And I have been having some conversations with people from that congregation. So I don't know if it's God's will to go there, or if there's something new for us that I'm not aware about. That's something that I'm not aware. That's something that will happen in the future. So we'll see how it goes. Pray for me, as always. Pray for me, and I hope that at one point I'm going to be bringing more value, right, or having more meaningful conversation instead of overlooking the oh, hey, I took this course and then this course was about this and that, but also meaningful things. And I feel like I had that in the previous videos, and hopefully I can share with some personal findings, personal stories in the future through this class. And I think it's going to be a much deeper level versus just academic knowledge of the Old Testament like in the last two courses. Pray for me. Thank you very much. Talk to you later.